Hi there. So in this video I'm going to show you how to create this map. Now this map shows California counties shaded by the count of acute general hospital buildings that have an SPC rating, which is a sort of structural category with range from 1 to 5, where 1 is susceptible to damage, more susceptible to damage from a strong earthquake, so it's a higher risk. An SPC rating of 5 is less susceptible to damage structurally from a strong earthquake. So I've taken some open data, I've done some counts, I've done summarize within, I've got some labeling there, and at the end of the day I've ended up with this map that clearly shows where the hotspots are for high risk hospital buildings in the state of California by county.
So how did we create that map? Well, of course, first thing we needed was the data. I went to these two sites and I got from the data sets here the hospital for acute care hospitals, acute care buildings data with the SPC rating, the structural performance categories. So I got that data set from here, so they're points. But then the county data for California I got from here, the California Open Data Portal. So that's where my two data sets came from, and I have downloaded them into this folder. And here you can see, so there's the CSV file. If we just do a preview pane on that. So you can see quite clearly it's got a load of columns, headers in the first line, and then goes straight into the actual data. And there's actually, they've got a link as well in their URL. So that's all the data, but you can quite clearly see I've got latitude and longitude there, and this SPC rating. So in ArcGIS Pro, which is version 3, and that's important, it's version 3, because there's a little feature, a new feature that I use in ArcGIS Pro 3 to do with selections, and I'll mention that when I come to it. But this is ArcGIS Pro 3, so it is the latest. So I'm going to create this new project. I'm actually just going to put it in that location. I'm not going to create like another folder. I'm just going to put it in there. So let's press OK. So this is the sort of standard map template, but what we want to do is open our XY data. So on the map tab, I go to add data, XY point data. We know it's got longitude and latitude, so we can go straight to that option. So the input table is in this folder, as we know. So let me, oh, and by the way, I did a video about what happens with folders, when you create a new project, and there you can see it's now populated with all the different components of an ArcGIS Pro project. So let's just put that in there. Copy that across. There's my file, output feature class. It's going to go into the generic, the sort of home database. Hospital buildings. Let's just remove the end stuff. Let's just call it hospital buildings. That's all. Actually, I think I'm going to put CA at the front of that. So it's the Californian stuff. It's read the longitude latitude fields. There's no Z. Yeah, it certainly looked like WGS to me. So let's run it. It shouldn't take too long. And there we go. We have our data. So very, very quickly, we have this hospital data in here. Well, let's click on a dot and get to see some information. So here's all the data behind it, as you can see. So it's got the county with the county code, county name, county code, and it's in service. So these are buildings. These are buildings, and a few other sort of bits and pieces. But like I said, we're really only interested in this SPC rating stuff in that field there. So now, when you get data in, sort of first of all, obviously, yeah, you may just want to double click and, I don't know, find a hospital symbol, change that. So there's all that sort of thing you can just go ahead with. Of course you can, and actually we could do some basic, well, I say basic, just some quick sort of analysis with a heat map. But the thing about this heat map is, yeah, it looks pretty, it's quite good. But it's just showing a concentration really of the number of buildings, and of course it's just the whole data set as well. And obviously around the Los Angeles sort of area is going to be pretty dense. So let's not worry too much about that. If you go back to single symbol, you should remember it actually when you do have a single symbol like that. I don't know why it doesn't. It'd be useful to remember some of those things. Anyway, so we have these points on the map for our hospital buildings. But so what's the actual interest here? Well, our map was all about showing the higher risk buildings for these acute sort of care centre buildings by county. So let's add the county data. And there it is. It's the tiger stuff, obviously. Now we've got counties. I think I'll just do a simple black outline on that. So we've got our points on top of counties. If I click on the county, there we go. There's all our county data, name, etc. Okay, so like I said, it's about the high risk properties, buildings. I'm defining high risk by anything with a SPC category, SPC rating of 3 or less. That's what I'm saying is high risk. So that's my definition. Your definition may be something else. So these values go from 1 to 5, although there's some slight permutations there going on as well. There's like 3S and 4S and stuff. So, but let's just have a look at the building data in the data design, looking at the fields. If you see here, this SPC rating is actually a text field. Now, yes, we can do stuff with text. It's not very pretty. There's usual sorts of sort of string stuff that needs to go on. So I'm going to make things easier for myself by actually turning this into an integer, a long. So I'm going to add a field. Click there to add a field. So I'm going to call it, let's call it SP risk, and the alias, let's say earthquake risk. Long, that's fine, don't mind. So there we go. So let's say that. So I've just made a field here where I'm going to store a variation of what this SPC rating column is. Like I said, there's several ways of sort of doing this. I'm just showing you one way, and I'll briefly mention others as we go along. But I now have this field that I'm going to be using. That's going to be my key field that I'm going to use. But of course, if I go to attribute table and look, that new field will be empty, earthquake risk. So what can I do here? Well, what I said was that really SPC rating is going to go in there, but as a number. But we're not going to have much fun with NA, not applicable, really, are we? So let's do a select by attributes, and from this hospital table, let's create a new selection where SPC rating is equal to, and then we'll see the NA. But note there's a few, there's a -1 in there as well as this sort of 3S and 4S values. And if I remember right, I think they're not confirmed where there's an S. I think that's the That's what the S does, means it's not the rating is not confirmed. But the D, I don't know actually. Wasn't able to find a reason for that. But anyway, so S is not confirmed. So it's a 3 not confirmed, a 3S. But I want to find all the not applicables, the NAs. Let's press OK. So it's highlighted quite a few points, a few dots actually. And just one little thing we can now do here is, as we've highlighted all those that are non-A, that are not applicable, we can actually use the calculate field. Now this is where I mentioned before about ArcGIS 3, ArcGIS Pro 3. There's a new feature here, you see, where it's actually what I'm going to do here applies on the selection only. So what I'm going to do here, you see, is saying that in this table, where I've got highlighted all these NAs, I'm going to set those just at 99. All right, just as a sort of random but totally rogue value, just something I can pick up from. So I'm just going to set it at 99, just some number that's way out of range. Now, obviously, when you use calculate field, there's all kinds of things you could do. You can have a whole code block in here, which actually could go through and generate all the numbers for you in one go. But I'm doing all this in steps so you can see all the different tools available to you. So if I press OK now, what you'll see in the attribute table, you see how now anything with NA in is 99. They're all 99. So I've got my sort of initial value in there. So just one little sort of next step, which is to grab the SPC rating from here and put it into here. And we're going to rely on something that kind of naturally happens when you do a string to number to long conversion. So I'm going to go to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the selection. So now there's no selection, and I'm going to calculate the field. So this is now on the whole of the table on earthquake risk. And what I'm going to do actually is say that that field is equal to SPC rating. Now that is text, which I think is what the exclamation marks are for. So I'm going to get warnings when I run this. So I'm saying here, dump everything from here into there. So watch what happens. Well, we get some errors. So we got some errors in there because of the 3S and 5S. It's, you know, it's got an S at the end, etc. So so in another video I'll be doing a bit more about the sort of Python code block and what you can do there. But actually here, what we can very easily do is say select by attributes, pick out all the ones that have got these issues, look for SPC rating 1S, select those, and then do an update on that, calculate field, and then just set that to 1. Apply. Okay, so they're now all. Where there's a 1, there's a 1. So that's fixed that one. So you can see how we can go through each one of these. But failed 2S is okay. Update the field, calculate the field, change that to 2. Okay. So now all the 2's are fixed. And then select by attribute all 3's. Okay. Update calculate field set to 3. Because this is working on selection, don't forget. And then let's do the 4's. So yeah, it's a bit tedious doing this way. Totally agree, but I'm just showing you how easy it is really. That's the 4 now and the 5 to just to update your data, just to kind of do a bit of fixing of data, and you often do need to do a bit of fixing of data. But I am going to be doing something on a bit more complex updating of data using a bit of Python, probably Arcade as well actually. Press OK. So now earthquake risk has got some decent values in there, sort of descending. So that's all our 99s, they're all our not applicables. And if we sort ascending, oh, we've got some nulls. Oh yeah, the 4Ds. Yeah, okay. So that's why it's good to sort, because you can see that. But also when you go to select by attributes, here you get a full list anyway, and of course there's 4D. So I think I'm actually just going to set 4Ds to 4. I think I'm just going to do that. I really, like I said, I don't know what the 4D means. You know, what is the D? If you know, please do leave a comment in the underneath this video. So we now have, let's just clear the selection. We now have a number in the earthquake risk field, and that number is 2, as you can see in that example. But like I said, we're only interested in the higher risk. So let's do another select, but this time it is a new selection, but this time it's where earthquake risk is less than or equal to. That's what I want, 3. So I've got those there. One thing you can do in a layer is right hand mouse click, and if you go to the selection option here, you can display attribute table only showing the selection. So when I click on that, you can see that that only those records that are less than or equal to 3 in earthquake risk are now displayed in the attribute window, 1096. Okay, it's one thing to sort of note. Okay, so let's create a layer. So from my selection, make layer from selected features. Let's get rid of this. Let's clear the selection, and let's turn off the main layer. So now this CA building selection, we could call this high risk based on SPC. So say SPC is less than, I wonder if we can put in those, yeah. I just thought for a second, I wonder if we can put in those symbols in the layer. Obviously you can. So now we have our map of all this point data on top of counties, and the point data, all of these are with SPC is less than or equal to 3. There you go, that's earthquake risk 2. So we define these sort of higher risk records. What about the shading? There's a tool in analysis called Summarize Within. So click on Summarize Within. The input polygons are your tiger, these counties, and the summary data is the high risk layer. Okay. Now and what this is going to do is create a count of all the points within the counties, in the tiger county polygons. I'm going to add a summary field actually, which is just the earthquake risk anyway, and we'll get what the mean is, just as an additional thing. So you can summarize the fields. You'll see what I mean, and you can group as well if necessary. So it won't take long to run this. It should be pretty quick. What's happened? As with many geoprocessing tools, a new layer has been created, and if you look at here, you can see Summarize Within. And we can rename this and call it what we want. So we're going to turn off the base original stuff for the moment, let's click on one of these boundaries. Now, see how it says counterpoint 0. It's quite clear that there are none of that building data is in here. I don't know if there was some. Yeah, so there was certainly lower risk stuff. So these points must have been certainly greater than 3. There you go, 5. So that one, Fairchild Medical Nursing Wing, is the particular building, is pretty strong structure when it comes to a strong earthquake. So, but let's click on. Ooh, I turned off the wrong thing there. Let's now click on. Well, there's this one down here. Counterpoints 56 with a mean SP risk of 2.5. Okay, so that's where our summary stats comes in. But the most important bit is the count of points 56. Because now we've got that count of points, what we can do is a good old thematic. So let's click on this. Let's go to graduated colours. It's not that value, it is counterpoints. And now you're starting to get that picture I showed you right at the beginning, that map. So let's just, I mean, there's lots of things we can do here and change. Let's not worry about it for the moment. Of course, those points that had set to an SP risk of 99 won't be included, of course, because they are way outside the less than or equal to 3. So we've got our map. We can see the higher concentration there, although there's a couple up there in that county. What's that one? Alameda County. So it's 55. So 55 buildings, acute hospital centres. 55 of those buildings have a mean SPC risk of 2.3. So, which is low number, but high risk. But I did have some labellings on that map, of course. So I've got a little label that to use. So let's go to not there. If we go to labelling properties on this polygon map, here's one I prepared earlier. So this is a bit of arcade. So it puts the name, and then there's this new line. That's what you put for a new line and a label, text formatting dot new line. And then I've got the count. I could put that in brackets maybe or something. But anyway, so let's apply that. But of course I haven't switched labelling on, have I? So let's do labelling. And there we have it. And actually in that original map I showed, I had no background map. So there we have it. We've got there. This is a map, Californian counties, taking some open data of buildings, hospital buildings, with that have a structural sort of rating attached to them in the event of a strong earthquake. You know, just what kind of risk level, where 1 is a high risk and 5 is a low risk. And so I've picked out all the high risks, which are less than or equal to 3. That's how I've defined it. You might look at it differently and say, oh, well, really, it's just where it's 1 or 2, and that's all I use. But and then I did this summarize within tool, and and we did a bit of updating of the data, a bit of munging with the data using select by attribute, and then calculate field, and yeah, then did this thematic and the labeling. And like I said, another video I'll show a bit more Python and stuff to show you how to update fields in one go with sort of one statement sort of thing, a bit like you could do in SQL. But I did it in a very step-by-step sort of process. Of course, the final thing you could do here is just see what the top 10 are, and you could very easily do that. Go to the attribute table, scroll along, and then just sort by descending number of points, records 1 to 10, and there you go. These are the names of the counties with the sort of top 10 high risk in terms of if a strong earthquake comes along. Anyway, I hope you find that all useful. Thank you.